Have you ever walked into a room and felt like the light had been off for so long you forgot it was ever there? That's what George, 74, said the day his doctor asked him when he last touched his own body. Not for hygiene, not for medicine, but for comfort. He paused, looked down, and whispered, "It's been years." Not because he didn't want to, but because something inside him had quietly decided he didn't deserve that warmth anymore. For many older adults, especially after a partner is gone or illness sets in, that light inside, the one that once said, "I am alive, I am desirable, I am still here," dims, not with a switch, but slowly, quietly, and we stop noticing. We brush our teeth, take our pills, go for walks. As we no longer touch ourselves, we no longer feel ourselves. Here's what no one tells you. That silence, that absence, has a cost. Physically, emotionally, even hormonally. Your body, like that unused light bulb, starts to forget how to glow. Blood flow slows, sensation fades, sleep suffers. And somewhere in that stillness, a message settles in your bones. You are no longer worth touching. But what if I told you the light's still there, just waiting for you to flip the switch? That it's not about lust, not about shame, not about anyone else. It's about you, your health, your circulation, your brain chemistry, your dignity. And in the next few minutes, you'll discover why masturbation, yes, even now, maybe especially now, might be one of the most powerful, private ways to stay fully alive in your body. This isn't a lesson in sex. It's an invitation to remember yourself. When you stop moving, you start fading. Mr. George hadn't always felt so far away from himself. In his younger years, he loved tinkering with engines, fine-tuning gears, and restoring old bicycles. He used to say, "If you stop moving the parts, they rust, and once they rust, they seize." But somewhere between retirement, grief, and quiet afternoons that felt longer than they should, he stopped saying things like that. And he stopped touching his own body too. Not because of illness, not even because of discomfort, but because it just didn't seem important anymore. That is, until his doctor gently explained something he had never been told before. That when older adults stop stimulating their sexual organs through intimacy or even self-pleasure, the body doesn't stay the same. It quietly begins to change. It's easy to believe that aging is what makes us slower, stiffer, more fragile, but often the real culprit isn't time, it's stillness. Just like a knee joint that becomes stiff without bending, or a heart that weakens when you stop walking, the sexual system, the tissues, nerves, glands, needs activity to stay functional. It's not about excitement or desire, it's about circulation, elasticity, and connection. When you stop brushing your teeth, plaque builds up. When you stop reading, your memory slows. And when you stop engaging with your sexual self, your body responds. In men, blood flow to the pelvic region diminishes. That means tissues lose their elasticity, sensation drops, the prostate becomes stagnant, increasing risks of discomfort, swelling, or long-term urinary issues. For women, vaginal dryness and irritation become more common, the skin becomes thinner, more fragile, and more than anything, many women report feeling as if their body no longer belongs to them. But here's the crucial part. None of this is a punishment. It's just biology. Your body is not judging you. It's simply adapting to the absence of touch. It's adapting to the silence. And the longer that silence lasts, the more difficult it becomes to reconnect. Because while youth bounces back quickly, the aging body needs gentle persistence. What took days to lose in your 30s may take months to regain in your 70s. That's why so many older adults who stop this private connection never return to it. Not because they're incapable, but because they assume the change is permanent. They believe what's lost can't be restored. But the truth is, the body doesn't need perfection. It needs presence. Even 1 or 2 times a week, a moment of self-connection, without pressure, without expectation, can help. It helps blood return to areas that have been forgotten. It keeps tissue supple, responsive, and resilient. And more importantly, it reminds the nervous system this body is still loved, because your body is listening, even now. And when you choose to stop moving this part of yourself, it doesn't just rest. It fades. But the opposite is also true. With each intentional, caring touch, you wake something back up. Not just in your skin, but in your sense of self, in your ownership of this life. You wouldn't abandon your lungs just because you've lived a long life. You wouldn't stop eating just because you've had thousands of meals. So why let this one precious part of your body fall silent when it's still waiting to be heard? You're not the only one who let go. George used to wake up early. Even after retirement, he liked the quiet hours before the world stirred. He'd pour his coffee, glance out the kitchen window, and sit with the sound of birds and distant traffic humming like a lullaby in reverse. But lately, those mornings felt different. He still woke up. He'd still brewed the coffee. Still sat in the same spot. But something inside him had dulled. He didn't really feel the mornings anymore. They just happened. There was a time, not long ago, when he used to shave with care, adjust his collar, walk past the mirror and catch a glimpse of himself with a quiet smile, like an old friend nodding hello. Now he barely looked, and when he did, he saw someone fading. He didn't know exactly when he stopped touching his own body, not for cleanliness, but for comfort, presence, warmth. But once he stopped, it felt like something else stopped with it. And here's the thing. He thought he was alone in this. I thought he was strange for missing something he didn't know how to name. But he wasn't alone. Not at all. Ruth, 69, felt it too. After her husband passed, she carried herself like a strong woman, organized, cheerful at church, helpful to her neighbors. But at night, when the house went quiet, a strange weight settled in her chest. Not just grief, something else. An ache she felt in her skin, not her heart. She missed being held, but more than that, she missed the part of her that used to want to be held. The longing scared her. She thought it was wrong. She thought it meant she hadn't aged gracefully. And so she buried it. Tucked it behind prayer, behind routine, behind the stoic smiles she wore so well. Until one day, during a support group, someone mentioned the idea of self-pleasure in older age. Not as indulgence, but as care. She didn't speak that day, but she listened, and something stirred. Later that week, Ruth stood in front of the mirror, lotion in hand, and for the first time in years, she moved slowly. Not to fix anything, not to change anything, just to feel. And when her fingers met her own skin, tears welled up. Not from shame, but from recognition. It wasn't about sex. It was about returning. And perhaps you felt it too, that quiet ache, that invisible shift where you begin to feel more like a caretaker of your body than the person living inside it. Where routines continue, pills, meals, chores, but intimacy with your own self disappears. Not overnight, but gradually, until one day you realize you can't remember the last time you felt at home in your own skin. If that sounds familiar, you're not broken. You're not strange. You're not alone. In this silence you've been carrying, so many others have been carrying it too. And the good news is, silence can be unlearned. Even now, especially now, your body still speaks. Are you listening? Most people think of aging as a gradual shutting down, as if every year turns a dial lower. Energy, desire, strength, confidence, until things just stop. But that's not exactly how it works. More often, aging responds to attention, to movement, to connection. And the same is true for your sexual body, whether or not you've been active with a partner. When this part of you goes untouched for too long, it doesn't simply rest. It begins to withdraw. Let's start with what happens biologically, beginning with the prostate, that small gland in men, often overlooked until there's a problem. The prostate relies on regular activity. When you stop ejaculating through sex or masturbation, the fluids it produces begin to stagnate. Over time, this can create pressure, inflammation, or even a higher risk of infection. Doctors call it prostatic congestion. You might feel it as a dull ache, or notice you're urinating more frequently at night. And what most men don't realize is this: you don't need a partner to prevent it. You just need movement, even occasional self-pleasure, a few times a month, helps the gland clear out old fluids, stimulate circulation, and reduce inflammation risk. It's simple, it's natural, and it's something your body was designed to do. For women, the effects of sexual silence can feel even more personal. As estrogen declines, the vaginal walls naturally thin. The tissues become more delicate. Blood flow decreases, lubrication dries up, and when that area goes untouched, the changes accelerate. Discomfort replaces warmth. Sensitivity gives way to numbness. And many women stop feeling like their body even belongs to them. But again, it's not permanent. It's not lost. It's just dormant. When you begin to gently stimulate those areas again, even without pressure, even without climax, you invite blood back in, you activate nerve endings, you reawaken sensitivity, and more than that, you send a message to your own brain: I'm still here and I still matter. That's not just poetic, it's chemical. Because every time you reach pleasure, your brain responds with a cascade of healing messengers. Dopamine rises, lifting mood and motivation. Oxytocin flows, deepening your sense of calm and emotional connection. Endorphins release, softening pain and easing stress. And prolactin rises, guiding your body into deeper, more restful sleep. You don't need pills to feel better. You don't need a prescription to feel whole. What you need is permission to reconnect, to re-enter your body not as a stranger, but as someone returning home. Because here's what decades of research and thousands of quiet stories have confirmed. Self-intimacy in older age isn't just safe, it's therapeutic. It supports your immune system. It improves heart rate variability, a powerful marker of stress resilience. It lowers cortisol, the hormone of tension and anxiety. and it keeps the pelvic floor muscles engaged, reducing your risk of incontinence and falls. Let me say that again. Masturbation, this small, quiet, private act, supports your ability to walk with strength, sleep through the night, maintain your memory, and age with dignity. And yet, no one talks about it. Not in doctors' offices, not at the dinner table, not in community centers. So the silence deepens, the shame grows, and the symptoms, loneliness, irritability, poor sleep, discomfort, get misattributed to just getting old. But you deserve better than silence. You deserve knowledge. You deserve to know that your body is still responsive, still alive, still listening, and with each simple, loving touch, you remind it of that truth. You wouldn't stop watering a plant just because the leaves began to droop, and give it light, and give it time, give it care. So why treat your own body any differently? It doesn't matter how long it's been. It doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't matter if you've never talked about this with anyone. What matters is that you understand the biology, you understand the power in your hands, and you understand that this part of you isn't shameful, it's sacred. Your body hasn't stopped working. It's waiting for your return, and it will meet you with more grace than you expect. When was the last time you truly said yes to your body? Pause with me for a moment, not to think, but to feel. Close your eyes, just for a few seconds, and ask yourself something many older adults haven't thought about in years. When was the last time you touched your body not out of necessity, but out of care? Not to wash, not to check for pain, not to take medication, to the joy check, but just to remember that you're still here, still alive, still worthy of warmth, even your own. If you struggle to answer that, you're not alone. Most people over 60 were never taught to see self-tick as a form of care. We were told to be modest, to stay busy, to focus on others. So we raised families, served spouses, paid bills, attended church, kept the home. We gave and gave. And somewhere along the way, we forgot how to give to ourselves, especially when it comes to intimacy. And the first thing that gets buried is not the desire, it's the permission. Permission to feel something again. Permission to slow down and say, I matter enough to be present with myself. That's why today's challenge is not about technique. It's not about goals. It's not about doing anything right. It's about remembering you are still allowed to enjoy your body without shame. And that reconnection can begin in the smallest of ways. So here's your invitation. Just for today or tonight when the house is quiet, give yourself 5 minutes. 5 minutes where nothing else matters but your breath and your presence. Find a warm, private space where you feel safe. No one watching, no one interrupting, just you. Place your hands on your skin, maybe over your chest, maybe your belly, or maybe the backs of your legs, somewhere you've ignored for too long. Don't try to force sensation. Don't try to remember what used to feel good. Just listen. Your body may whisper. It may cry. It may feel distant. That's okay. The point isn't to get somewhere. It's to say, I haven't forgotten you. Try this again tomorrow. You might feel nothing again. Or maybe, for just a moment, warmth will return to a place you thought had gone cold forever. And if that happens, don't run. Don't judge. Let it be a homecoming. Remember Ruth? She started with hand lotion. One night after brushing her teeth, she looked at herself in the mirror and said, "You're still here?" Then she placed her hands gently on her belly. She didn't cry. She didn't smile. She just breathed, and something inside her began to soften. And George, he used to think touch without a partner was pointless, until one day he realized it wasn't about sex. It was about reclaiming the right to feel present in his own skin. He now spends 10 minutes every night before bed simply running warm water over his hands and placing them on his thighs, his stomach, his heart. Sometimes he adds music, sometimes silence, but always intention. Your challenge today isn't to perform. It's to be honest with your loneliness, with your desire, with your right to still be tender, not for someone else, or you. Because if you're going to keep giving care to the people around you, if you're going to keep showing up for your children, your grandchildren, your community, you need to remember how to show up for yourself too. And if you've forgotten how, let your hands remind you. This isn't shameful. This is sacred. You are not too old. You are not too far gone. You are not late. You are right on time. Come back to yourself gently. If you've stayed with me this far, then something inside you is still listening. Not to me, but to yourself, to a whisper you might have ignored for years. It doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't even need to be clear. Just a quiet tug inside your chest asking, "Is it too late for me?" And here's the truth. But it's not too late. Not even close. Because reclaiming your relationship with your body is not about going back. It's about moving forward, gently, honestly, from exactly where you are now. So let's talk about what that really looks like. Not in theory, not in someone else's story, but in your own hands. Health in your own home, in your own rhythm. It starts with a choice, not to fix, not to perform, not to impress, but simply to reconnect, not all at once, not for anyone else, but just for you. Here's how you begin. Find a space that feels quiet. It doesn't need to be silent, but it needs to be yours. Maybe it's your bedroom, dimly lit with a warm lamp. Maybe it's the bathroom after a warm shower when your body feels soft and your mind a little slower. Still, sit or lie down. Close the door, not just the physical one, but the mental one too. The door to judgment, to old voices, to timelines and should-haves. And place your hands somewhere they rarely rest, your belly, your chest, the tops of your thighs. Not with purpose, just with presence. Notice the texture of your skin, the temperature, the subtle rise and fall of your breath. You don't need to feel anything dramatic. This is not about excitement. It's about existence. You are still here, and that alone is reason enough to be touched. The first time you try, you might feel awkward. You might laugh. You might cry. You might feel absolutely nothing at all. That's okay. It's honest. That's real. Because this isn't a trick. It's a practice. I returned. Over the next few days, experiment gently. Bring in warm lotion, a soft towel, a calming piece of music, or maybe silence. Let your hands move slowly, not to reach a destination, but to explore forgotten land. And remember, the goal isn't climax. It's connection. If stimulation feels natural, follow it. If it doesn't, pause. Breathe, rest. This is not a performance. It's a remembering. And if your body responds even just a little, let it. Don't shut it down with guilt. Don't ask, why now? Ask instead, why not now? Because for many people over 60, the idea of self-pleasure has been locked behind decades of silence. Thought to be shameful, to be selfish, to be something young people do. But your need for comfort didn't expire when your hair turned gray. Your longing for closeness didn't disappear when life got quiet. And your right to feel good in your own body didn't end when someone else stopped touching you. You are not an empty shell. You are not a retired soul. You are a living being with nerves, with breath, with memory. And you are worthy of warmth, especially your own. If mobility or pain makes this process difficult, modify it. If your hands tremble, try soft cloths, warm baths, or massaging tools. If getting in bed feels challenging, do this seated in your favorite chair. If being naked feels too vulnerable, stay in soft clothing. It's not about what you remove, it's about what you allow. And slowly your body will begin to trust you again. It will respond with warmth, with awareness, with rest. You'll notice better sleep, little less tension in your chest, a small wave of calm that moves through your spine like an exhale you didn't know you were holding. And maybe on one of those quiet evenings, you'll find yourself looking in the mirror, not to criticize, not to correct, but to simply say, "You're still here, and I haven't forgotten you." That's not a small thing. That's healing, because when we return to our bodies in this way, without agenda, without shame, we don't just reclaim pleasure, we reclaim presence, we reclaim agency, we reclaim the ability to say, "This is still mine." No one else needs to understand. No one else needs to witness it, but you will feel it. In your bones, in your rest, in your softness, in the way you move through the world the next day, not with speed, but with quiet ownership. You don't need to be anyone else. You don't need to compare. You don't need to explain. You only need to return, and every gentle moment of self-tick is not a step backward into shame. It's a step forward into life. You are not just existing. You are still living, still worthy, still sovereign. And this time, you are choosing it for yourself. You are still worth touching. George doesn't rush anymore. Not with shaving, not with walking, not with life. He still sits by the kitchen window, still pours his coffee, but now he lets his hand rest a moment longer on the cup just to feel the warmth. He looks in the mirror more often, not to fix anything, just to say hello. And sometimes at night, when the world goes quiet and the memories stretch long, he touches his own skin with patience, with reverence, with a soft kind of joy that no longer needs explanation. Not because he misses someone else, but because he found himself again. That's the part no one talks about, that the most profound intimacy in life may come not from others, but for remembering you still deserve your own presence. You still deserve to feel good in your body. You still deserve to connect gently, intentionally with your own aliveness. It's not about lust. It's not about rebellion. It's about dignity. The kind of dignity that whispers, "Even now, I matter." That quietly declares, "Even here, I choose myself." Your body, though different from decades past, still speaks the language of touch. and it will never shame you for speaking it back. Masturbation in older age is not a secret to be hidden. It's a signal that you've not given up on vitality, that you've not accepted emotional silence as your final chapter, that you're still choosing connection even in solitude. And that choice, that sacred, quiet, personal choice, is an act of courage. So if this message touched something in you, hold it close. Don't rush to share it. Don't force yourself into action. Just let it echo a while. And maybe tonight, when the lights are low, you'll place your hand over your chest. Not to fix anything, not to change anything, but to remind your body that you're still here. And you're still listening. If no one ever told you this before, let me be the first. You are still lovable. You are still beautiful. You are still worthy of being touched, not just by others, but by your own kindness. You don't need permission to come home to yourself. You never did. So if today is the day you begin again, do it slowly. Do it softly. Do it without apology. And if you feel moved, even a little, I'd love to know. Leave a comment with the number 1. You don't need to explain, just that quiet number will say everything. And if this video helped you feel more seen, more hopeful, or more whole, please subscribe, because this space is for you, where your age doesn't erase your worth, where your body is not forgotten, and where your truth, your quiet, radiant, beautiful truth is always welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for coming back to yourself.